People think compassion is soft, but it's actually one of our greatest strengths, because to live your full potential, it's not just about achieving and ticking boxes and working your ass off to get to some destination. A lot of the time, if you only do that and you treat life that way, a lot of the times you get to the destination that you've been chasing or desiring to get to, and you realize that you didn't even want to get to that destination. Reaching your full potential is also about understanding, what does success mean to you? Are you chasing someone else's version of success and potential, or are you chasing your own version of success and potential? And for you to understand that, you've got to understand what you value, what matters to you, what is more important than other things in your life. For you to realize, actualize, materialize, achieve your full potential, you need to know what you really want. I don't speak for everyone when I go after my success. My success is my success. It's not anyone else's. I've just dropped my daughter at school. I mean, it's almost impossible for me. It is impossible, because it's impossible for me to describe how that feels. Like, it makes me emotional. I can feel a reaction in my stomach, in my body, because when I was a child, I had an absent father. I had a chaotic father. I had a father with many problems that ended up attempting to take his own life many times, and then ended up taking his life. And then I had a stepfather that I'm very grateful for. I mean, if it wasn't for him, we potentially could have ended up in foster care, myself and my two younger siblings. And I mean, as most people know, that can mess up your life in all kinds of ways. And I remember my mom sitting us down and saying that you're going to have to go live with someone else for a while, because I can't afford to keep you. God damn. I can't imagine being my mother, having to sit us down on that single sofa and put us on her lap and try and explain that to us. When I was about 11, my younger brother was about 9, and my youngest brother would have been 5. But anyway, my stepfather came along, and he wasn't a perfect man. He drank too much. He was angry. We lived in a militant household. Like, we were kids. And we had chores to do. And it wasn't like turn chores into a game. It was every single day. When they came home from work, the house had to be spotless. Mop the floors, clean the walls, do the dishes, pack the dishes away, hoover, sweep, etc. Every day. Every single day. There was no day excluded. If it wasn't done, we were in shit. Anyway, but he did so much for me. But he was my stepfather, and he had his own kids, and he had his own problems, and he would come home stressed from work every day, or most days. And then to, I guess, numb out the stress of the life that he had settled for or gone after, he would just drink. He would drink every day, every day, every day, every day. So I didn't have the best of father. I had fathers, my real father, my birth father, if that's what you call it, my stepfather. I'm very grateful to both of these men. But did I have a healthy father, a present father, a father that was a good role model, a father that if he could choose to be anywhere, he would choose to be with me? No, I never had that once in my life. And I have become that person. Like, I'm obsessed and passionate about many things. But if I am given the option to drive my daughter to school, that's everything to me. That shared moment with my daughter, where it's just the two of us. Now she's 2 years, 7 months. We can start to talk. She can't obviously verbalize everything, but she understands everything I say. It's just so special to me. And that, in that area of my life, being a present father, I am living my full potential. Or at least I'd like to think that I'm living as close to that as possible. Another thing for me that is living my full potential in alignment with my values is I've always loved music. I've been passionate about music my entire life. I was recording songs in my bedroom on my own when I was 10 years old. I remember the first ever cassette tape that I got and my cassette player. It's almost like I can see and feel the plastic of the cassette. I can smell the cassette player. I can smell it today at 44, even though my father gave it to me when I was 10. And I remember the cassette tape. It was monster hits. Anyway, then I went on to be a DJ. Then I went on to play instruments. Then I went on to sing for fun. I've always been a dancer and entertainer anyway. So now with the help of AI, I can just speak for 20 minutes about something I want to create. I can help AI formulate that, if that's the right word, into the lyrics for a song, using my words, but my podcast, and turn it into a song with 2 or 3 verses and a couple of choruses. I can then choose the melody, and I can have an AI song built around the melody and my song instructions, like what kind of song I want to create, what's the genre, what's the BPM, the tempo, what kind of voice I want. And now I've created content for many, many years, but now I get to create social media content with my own music in it that has my lyrics that are directed at, or the lyrics are about a message. There's a message, like most artists. Not all, but most. There's a very powerful message in every song that I produce. So in alignment with my value of music and having music in my life, I'm very much moving more and more and more into my own potential. Now, what does that mean to someone else? Probably nothing. They'd be like, why? I don't want to have kids. Never mind drive a kid to school. I have friends that they're like, no, thank you. I do not want kids. And to me, my daughter, when she was 1.5 years old, holding my pinky, I visualized that since I was about 23 years old. I visualized that moment. That will be my success. I will have a daughter, and she will have her hand wrapped around my finger. From when I was a teenager, I visualized being able to put out music into the world. And now that's actualized. I got into sport at the age of 7, judo. And I've done everything: bodyboarding, surfing, judo, karate, rugby. I've tried cricket, not for me. Football, I had a couple of lessons. A lot of sports I wasn't able to keep doing for one reason. As a kid, I just couldn't pay the fees to join a club. And that's just the truth of it. But I found cycling, and I was able to have a below standard bike that still allowed me to race with the other kids that had crazy expensive bikes. And I could get a lift to races with my cousin and my uncle, because most kids had their parents there every fucking race. Why would you not be? You know, your kid is trying to be successful at a sport. Why would you not be there at every single race? Guess what? Mine weren't. I think my mother, maybe in my whole childhood, maybe came to one race. I think in 7 years of playing rugby, or maybe 6 years of playing rugby, I think my mother came to one rugby game, maybe two. I've had to work on all this stuff my whole life. But sports always been a big part of my life. I became a semi-professional cyclist, meaning we looked sponsored. We had sponsored clothing, we had a team manager, we had a team, we got invited to team events, we had, sponsors on our bottles, we had product sponsorships. I'm sure I'm forgetting some things, but semi-professional, meaning professional technically means you get paid to do this thing. So it was semi-professional because we got paid in sponsors and stuff, but we didn't actually get money. That was the next level for me. But I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough. And years later, when I started to study psychology, human behavior, why we do what we do, and when I got into my career that I've been doing for the last 20 years, which is helping people with psychological skills and helping people change their body, their energy, their presence, their leadership, their self-leadership, their business, their life, etc., I realized, oh my God, the reason why I never did extremely well as a cyclist had nothing to do with my parents. It had nothing to do with lack of support. It had nothing to do, well, no, that's not true. It wasn't so much about lack of support. It wasn't so much that my bike was older or heavier than other people. It's because I didn't understand psychology. I didn't understand the power of mindset. I didn't understand the power of verbal persuasion, and that I was eliminating myself from being a winner through how I chose to speak to myself every day, because I felt less than. Because my father chose to leave me by taking his life, because I never had positive verbal persuasion at home, people supporting me to go after my goals and pushing me and inspiring me to go for it. I remember I would tell my parents like my goals, my stepfather, mother, and they'd be like, oh, that's cool. Hey, they did their best. I love everyone in my life. I'm grateful for everyone in my life. I spoke to my mother the other day and I said, hey, I know you did your best, but it wasn't a perfect upbringing for me or my two brothers. So to come back to the point of this video, I just kept going after. Look, I'm on a road now, and I've gone from where I used to be, dropping my daughter at school, to B, going home. And that's the journey of life. It's coming from where you started and going home. That's the whole journey of life. And going home means creating a life that you love. When you look at a child, they live in love, not fear. They live in present. They live in the present moment. They don't live in the future. They don't live in the past. They live in joy. peace, happiness, fulfillment, presence, being present every single day, loving what they do, being excited to jump out of bed in the morning. And then we go on a journey, as Joseph Campbell calls it, the hero's journey. And we have multiple hero's journeys within that hero's journey. But at the end, it's to come back to ourselves, to come back home. And to come back home means to realize what really matters in life. And to go to that place, to go to those people, to go home to yourself. I've written a few songs around this topic, including yesterday. But for me, another thing that I've always been so incredibly passionate about, that I remember when I was about 11 years old, I was cycling. I just started cycling. No, I started cycling around 11, but I was around 12 or 13 when I had this moment. And I remember thinking, I was watching other professional athletes, cyclists, but it's more about athletes in general than it is cyclists. And I remember watching them just doing what they love and inspiring so many people. And I remember thinking, that's what I want to do. I want to do what I love, which happens to be sport, which also happens to be music, which also happens to be being a father. And I want to inspire people. And that has been the life that I've been creating, the life that I've been moving towards my whole life. And now at 44, and when I say being a father, obviously that includes being a partner, ideally, right? We don't always get it right, as in relationships. If I was not in a relationship, my number one goal would still be to be the best father that I can be. But now at 44 years old, my life doesn't come without challenges. My life doesn't come without struggle. I mean, life is struggle. Jesus, Moses, Joseph, Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela, I mean, the list goes on. They all had struggle in their life. To think that your life should be without struggle, one, it's delusional. But two, do you really think you're going to achieve anything extraordinary if you're not pushed to the edge of yourself, But now at 44, level 44, as I tell my clients, you should never complain about your age, because every night people die by choice and by force. Every time you get to another level, you should celebrate. And I've been doing that for many, many years, especially since my father only made it to level 40. Now level 44, and so grateful. I am a father. I make music. I inspire people through my business to live a better life, to have a life that actually feels how it looks. I work mostly privately with business owners, founders, entrepreneurs. They've built this success on the outside, but they're like, it doesn't feel how it should. It doesn't feel how it looks. And I help them align that so that their inner success matches their outer success. And I'm an athlete. At 42 years old, I had a professional stadium bout, Muay Thai fight, Thai boxing fight, in front of hundreds of people. And I won a local stadium belt, a championship belt for that stadium that I have to show to my daughter one day, and to tell her stories about going after your goals and creating your own success and going after your full potential, and understanding that life is about passion. Yes, profit is important, but life is about passion. Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive, because what the world needs is more people to come alive. And I want to teach my daughter that. The belt was never about showing it to other people. I always knew that I wanted it for me, to show myself what I was capable of. And I wanted to show my daughter and now my family, because I have a stepboy and I have another child on the way. Come on. Thank you, Jesus. Oh, man. That is success. But to bring this back around, that is my success. To be with my family, my partner, and my children, and to be present with them, to be an athlete, and to use my voice, whether that is through producing music, speaking to content, or speaking into videos, speaking on stages, or speaking to my clients. That was my dream. I just told you my story from when I was young. I wanted to be that man. I wanted to be that father. I wanted to be that husband, that partner. I wanted to be in music. And I wanted to be an athlete. And I wanted to be someone that inspires others. And I've ticked all of those boxes. Everything else is extra. Everything else is extra. So what are those boxes for you? What are the things that you've known you've always wanted to do? And are those boxes full or are they empty? Because after working with hundreds of people privately, leaders in business, business owners, 6, 7, 8, even 9-figure business owners, I can tell you from a place of experience and collected evidence that if it doesn't matter what you have, it doesn't matter how much you have, if those boxes, whatever those personal successes are for you, if those boxes are empty, then I know you feel empty. And if you want to know how to fill those boxes, reach out to me, because I've been doing that for myself my entire life. And I've been doing it as a career, full-time, never doing anything else for the last over 20 years now. Through books, through talks, through workshops, through memberships, through being invited to speak at events. You can find some of my books on Amazon. You can find me obviously on social media, most platforms. But the way that I've done it most, and how I started my career, was working privately with high-level, successful founders, business owners, business leaders. Why those people? Especially over 40, because one, they naturally gravitate towards me because I know how to speak to those people. Especially now, because I am one of those people, over 40, business owner, entrepreneur, founder. But also because that's who my father was. My father took his life at 40, even though he was handsome, he was intelligent. Someone even told me once that my father was a genius, but he didn't know how to handle his own mind. He didn't know how to deal with his own intelligence, so he couldn't get it out of his head. My father didn't know what I know. He didn't know how to drop into his heart. He didn't know how to get more present. He didn't know how to have more natural energy. So to get out of his head, he kept achieving and he kept accomplishing and then never feeling how it looked. So he would go and get something, still didn't feel how it looked, so he would go do something else, and then one woman became multiple women, cheating, drugs, partying, whilst he was successful. Don't let success fool you. Outer success. Real success is how you feel. I'm not saying you should be a spiritual yogi and be anti-materialism. That is not the goal. Money is spiritual. You change the world with money. But don't let outer success fool you. I've met many, many people in my life that have outer success that are absolutely fucking miserable. And they can't even stand to look at people like me because it pisses them off. Seeing someone happy pisses them off. I've had someone tell me, your happiness pisses me off. I've had clients ignore me because they just can't bring themselves into that place that I tell them is possible to live in. So they stay locked into their misery. We get one life and we choose our life. It's always the case. We choose our life. The question is, will you choose your life and the life that you really truly want to live? Or will you choose someone else's life and just do your best to survive? It's my job. I've made it my job to give you access to greater levels of yourself. But it's not my fucking job to choose. It's not my job to choose you. It's your job. Choose yourself.